and this is serious, please, just remain in your seats until the fire trucks and the firefighters have left. If there's any kind of an emergency call, just simply remain in your seats. The fire chief and the volunteer firefighters are able to handle any circumstances as long as we stay in our seats if there is any kind of an emergency. So, please find your seats. Go ahead, gentlemen. And we're about to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the Honorable Brenda Murphy, ONB, Lieutenant Governor of Brunswick, and Her Honor Linda Boyle. Please remain standing for O Canada. Please be seated. I'd like to welcome you here, welcome everybody here this afternoon. Thank you for coming out on this delayed celebration of 100 years of incorporation of the village of Port Elgin. I'm Don Lockhart, and I haven't been around quite as long as the village, but I'm working on it. I grew up as a young person who lived right across the river there, moved back here after retiring a few years ago. But I want to thank you all for coming out and helping us celebrate 100 years of incorporation. And to note also that the proceedings today are being recorded by Weston Jones, the back of the hall there, for replay on the village website later. So if you want to see what happened, or if you want to invite people to see what happened, it'll be on the village website. Now I would like to call on the mayor of Port Elgin, Mr. Jason Stokes, to come forward.
Welcome everybody. And actually I don't have a whole lot to say, but I did want to welcome everybody here. The Honorable Baron Murphy, thank you for coming so much. Megan Mitten, thank you very much. Let's see who else is on my list. Danielle, of course, thank you, and thank you for all the work that you do. All the past mayors, all the past councils, thank you for all the work you've done. And distinguished guests. I'm looking forward, I'd like to say to the next 100 years, but let's say to the transition to the next 100 years. Thank you very much everybody for coming, and we're looking forward to all our summer events. And I will pass this on to whoever. I'll ask the people who organized to speak. Thank you.
To begin with, I'd like to call upon the Reverend Carolyn Rushton of the United Church and Mi'kmaq Cultural Coordinator and Knowledge Keeper Nicole Porter from Fort Foley. We'll invite them forward.
scared to be up here. So kwe, ni dala ni sini ki jubes beknjich, ni wiki amalangwa kweswe. You would ask me what my name was and where I live in my native language, Mi'kmaq. 5 years ago, I would not tell you that. I grew up off reserve, and I'm just now getting reconnected to my culture. Fort Folly is where my grandparents are from. So to be able to get reconnected and to be here today to open and give blessings to the town of Fort Elgin for the next 100 years. I just want to acknowledge that this traditional land that we're on was of the Mi'kmaq. We've been here for 13,000 plus years. To Burke, they found artifacts dating back that far. So my ancestors have lived in this territory, and being here in this corridor between New Brunswick and Nova Scotia called the Shinnecock Isthmus was a major trade route, both for my people as well as animals crossing this land bridge between the two. And it was just, 500 years ago since colonization that I've lost my connection to those ancestors. So to be able to stand here now and introduce myself in my native language and do these prayers and these blessings, it's with them that I do this in mind. Passing this on to my children and the future generations before falling. Because we, as a small community, Indigenous community, our elders have not practiced any of our traditional ways. So to be able to do this in their honor, all the ceremonies taken away from our people. So I just want to open up with a prayer and a smudge before we start. I also have a spirit plate up here too, because it's very important that we acknowledge those ancestors that have gone before us. Not just my ancestors, but all of your ancestors. Your ancestors that are buried in your grave sites, just down the road. We want to honor that past. And they are always with us, walking beside us, guiding us in the work that we do during our time here on Mother Earth. So I'm going to do the prayer over the spirit plate, and then I'll quickly do the 2 rounds of the honor song after that as well too. Okay. So I just have here some natural tobacco that I have, and it's an offering to the spirits to come be with us today, to share in this spirit plate. And it's a little bit of everything that's going to be available with our feast afterwards. So we just want to feed them and feed their spirit as well too. So. Put that on there, and then I'm going to take it outside afterwards, so they can feast with that. So I'm going to light our smudge, and I'm burning sage today. And sage is one of our medicines that cleanses our mind, our body, and our spirit. It takes away any negative energy that may be present. And when we release this negative energy, we're accepting the good. When we go throughout our life, we have lots of struggles as, paying bills. Am I going to be able to go to work? Am I going to get sick of COVID? We have all those worries. So as Indigenous people, we like to be balanced in our everyday life. And so we use this as a way to get rid of all that negative energy from us, send it back to the Creator, to our Mother Earth, and let them deal with it so that it's less of a burden on ourselves with that information. So I'm going to symbolically, for all of us here, if I was to do everyone a smudge, hope I don't set off the fire. Maybe open the doors. It's a good sign. We all need to have a smudge. So, yeah, so I'm going to symbolically, put the smoke out to all of you guys here. So we're just going to cleanse our minds, and we're going to think positive, pray in your own language as well too, in your own ways. You can do that as well too, because we acknowledge everyone has their ways of acknowledging and giving thanks and blessings. Okay? So to the east direction, Ujjiganuk. To the south, Ujjidesanuk. To the west, Igisanuk. To the north, Okwadanuk. To Giskuk, which is our creator, and to Witsikmu, which is our Mother Earth. Walalan, thank you for being here, allowing us to gather on this amazing day. Thank you for the breath of life that we wake up every morning. Thank you for allowing us, Giskuk, to be present and join in harmony and with everyone around us. And then I'm going to read our Mi'kmaq prayer of the 7 sacred teachings. And this prayer to me, it brings our core values and what we believe and what everyone should follow to live a good and harmonious life with everyone around us. Oh, really? Everyone needs a smudge. Okay. So Giskuk, thank you for this day you have given us. Thank you for allowing us to gather here, and we ask that you enter where we are so that your teachings will work in us. We ask for your wisdom so that you will know what is good in this world. We ask for your love so that we can spread your love everywhere. We ask for respect so that we will know that everyone comes from one place. We ask for bravery so that we will not be afraid to do the work here. We ask for honesty so that no one will lie or harm any one of us. And we ask for humility so that no one will be superior to another. And Giskuk, we ask for the truth so that we will see you in the future on the last day with clean hearts and spirits. In Sitnova. So with that, I'll just do a couple verses of the honor psalm. You can all stand and remove your hats. We don't usually record the honor song because it is more of like our national anthem for our people. It recognizes who we are as Indigenous people and giving us the strength to carry on the work that our Creator has intended for us. But you can go ahead and record, that's fine. We usually do this in 4 rounds to honor those 4 directions and the ones that have gone before us. I will just do 2 for sake of time. When I leave, I will do 2 more by myself at home to make sure that those 4 are counted. Okay? Mi'kmaq Well, can always see it.
My congregation and many members here see me with all these papers. They're going to feel that I was being long-winded, as I can be. But Nicole, thank you very much. And we just found out in a short conversation here that we both grew up in Spring Hill, which was kind of interesting. Thanks. And I also want to acknowledge that we are standing on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. Did you want? Oh, okay. So let's just take a moment, silence, to invite the holy into our presence. Holy One, we gather here in this time and place to celebrate and rejoice together in our common life. We give thanks for all of those who have worked so hard to put this celebration together. We give thanks for Nicole to be able to be here and to tell us and teach us about her faith and her community. We give thanks to God for the opportunity to come together and celebrate this wonderful anniversary, 100 years. May our time be filled with friendship, love, and joy. Amen. Is that good enough?
I've learned never to tell clergy that it's too short. I know I'm going to pay for that remark. I'd like to invite the Honorable Brenda Murphy, Lieutenant Governor of New Brunswick, to our stage.
Mesdames, moi, sommes très heureux d'être ici aujourd'hui pour célébrer avec vous le centenaire du village de Port Elgin, qui coïncide avec le jubilé de platine de Sa Majesté la Reine Elizabeth II. We're so pleased to be here with you today to celebrate Port Elgin's centennial, which does happen to be coinciding with Her Majesty's Platinum Jubilee. And I think it's quite remarkable that Queen Elizabeth has reigned for such a significant portion of your village's incorporated history. We can trace back settlement in this region for hundreds, if not thousands, of years, thanks to the Mi'kmaq and Acadian communities that lived here before the arrival of the Loyalists. Your municipality has so much history to celebrate, but the key to its success through good times and periods of adversity has been its people. And I imagine it's a bit bittersweet for some of you to be celebrating the 100 years in the midst of also working to join together with other communities. And I wish you great success as you just expand your community. I'd also like to commend the long list of generous local sponsors who make events like this possible. Whether you're a lifelong Port Elgin resident or you've just recently found your way to this charming corner of the province, I can sense your community spirit and the pride that you feel in calling this place home. Je vous souhaite une année remplie de festivités soulignant ce jalon historique. I wish all Port Elginians a centennial year to That's how you refer to members of Port Elgin. Were we correct? Port Elginians? I think it sounds really quite exotic. I thought maybe I'd like to be a Port Elginian. Anyway, congratulations on your 100-year celebration. This has beyond relaxing.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I would like to acknowledge the Government of Canada's support for our celebrations today and throughout this year. If you want to find out more about what's happening, just look on the back of the program. Our Member of Parliament, the Honourable Dominic LeBlanc, the Minister of Intergovernmental Affairs, Infrastructure and Communities with the federal government, is unable to be with us here this afternoon, but the Federal Department of Canada has contributed to Legacy Fund grants for our celebrations throughout the year. In addition, we would also like to acknowledge a very special grant that was awarded to the Port Elgin 100-year celebrations under the Celebration and Commemoration Program for the 2022 Platinum Jubilee of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II in her 70th year as our sovereign. And now I'd like to introduce the Honourable Daniel Alain, Member of the New Brunswick Legislative Assembly for Moncton East, and the Minister of Local Government and Local Governance Reform. Monsieur Alain.
How's everybody doing? This is great. I love a party. Gee. Bonjour à tous. C'est un plaisir d'être avec vous. It's great to see elected officials with us, so thank you for being here. And of course, our Lieutenant Governor, Your Honor, Brenda Murphy. One of the most hardworking MLAs you'll ever find, Megan Min. Nice to see you here. Mayor Stokes, Jason Stokes, always a great discussion. We had a great discussion earlier this summer on local governance reform, and thank you for being proactive on the subject and working with your local communities. Reverend Carolyn Rushton, thank you for being here. I thought you did a great speech. Madame Dubé, great to be here. Thank you. Fire Chief Steve Alder, thank you for being here. You guys keep our community safe, and it's important. It's too bad Dominic LeBlanc's not here. Minister LeBlanc, I love to tease with him. I want to do like something like the Oscars today with you, but Mr. LeBlanc, we're lucky to have you. I can tell you as a provincial counterpart, we have great discussions with Dominic LeBlanc. Minister LeBlanc loves Atlantic Canada, loves New Brunswick, and even loves even more Southeast New Brunswick. So I can tell you and I can assure you that we are collaborating together and we are working on a relationship that will change New Brunswick. I can guarantee you that. We're going to have a good summer. So that's the only thing I want to say. Congratulations, Port Elgin, on celebrating 100 years as an incorporated village. You are the very first incorporated village in New Brunswick, and that's worth celebrating. Yay! Good job, actually. So I know you have special events this year, from an Easter egg hunt to quilt fairs along the river. The RCMP musical ride will be on August 10th. But be here. You certainly know how to mark such an important milestone. Villages such as Port Elgin are what makes New Brunswick such a great place to live. Your sense of identity and community. It is an inspiration to municipalities across the province, new and old. And I want you to know that even though there's a municipal reform, and it's not easy, Port Elgin will always be Port Elgin. These changes that our government is making will enable this wonderful community to live for another 100 years. and more. Longue vie au village de Port Elgin, longue vie à la nouvelle communauté qui va se faire. Many happy returns, and thank you for inviting me, because being a politician, and I know at the provincial level, it is tough work sometimes, and I know you have one of the hardest working MLAs. And it's hard to do the tough decisions and tough choices sometimes. But coming here today was an easy one. And on behalf of Premier Blakings, who was supposed to be here and I'm his replacement, so I just want to say thank you, thank you, thank you. It is appreciated after 2 years of COVID that we have celebrations like this. The guys like me can eat cake. Just look at the kid there, you're here for the cake, yeah? You're here for the cake, yeah? You're here for the cake. Barbecue in there this summer, it's always been good. But on structure, it's important to mark these events, and 100 years is worth celebrating in your folks. Have a great summer. Have some fun, and let's make sure we have more parties like this.
Any good politician has to be good on speed. Thank you very much. And now welcome Megan Mitten. Ms. Mitten is the member of the Legislative Assembly from Medgar Cook, Tantramar.
I made it up, so I want to start by saying it's wonderful to see everyone's faces. It's been years since we've been able to gather like this, and it feels unfamiliar, but it's special, and I'm so honored to be here today. And I want to acknowledge distinguished guests, including the Honorable Brendan Murphy, Honorable Monsieur Alain, and His Worship Jason Stokes, Mi'kmaq Cultural Coordinator and Knowledge Keeper Nicole Porter, and Reverend Rushton, and other distinguished guests, including counselors and those who protect us and fight fires that are seated over there. And I also want to specifically recognize those who organized the event. It looks wonderful, and not only did you organize an important event, but you did so during a pandemic, and it sure threw a lot of obstacles your way, so congratulations, it looks wonderful. Gather today on the unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq. I see many leaders in our midst, and the warm spirit of Port Elgin is evident today. I always feel that when I'm here. And as we mark the centennial, this community is going to come together in ways that only small communities can. And Port Elgin has evolved over the last century since incorporation, and has served as a central part of a greater region, deeply connected to your neighbors down the road, but also to neighboring communities. And I know, as I said, when planning when the centennial began, it's been tricky during a pandemic, and it also wasn't known what changes would lie ahead for Port Elgin's next chapter, with the municipal boundaries set to be redrawn. But the pride and desire to celebrate history, the diversity of people here, and the community spirit is clearly there. And so thank you to everyone who has made Port Elgin a special place in our corner of the province, who takes care of your neighbors, who has served as a firefighter or served on village council, who has run a store or a table at the Lupin Fair, who has played on the sports team or been a community member cheering on the young athletes. Merci à tout le monde qui a contribué à la communauté, et merci pour être là aujourd'hui. Celebrations such as this allow us to look at the past, but they also encourage us to look towards the future. And it is an honor to be here today, to celebrate the last 100 years with you as you begin begin to write the next chapter for Port Elgin. So thank you, merci, Bololio.
Thank you very much. It's a risky business doing this speech. One of the people who cannot be here issued an invitation from the very beginning was Marilyn Trenum, a former member of the legislature, and grew up in the area, was a doctor here, and although Dr. Marilyn can't be here at the moment, she did send this note to us, and I'd like to read it to you if I may. She says, "Your Worship, members of council, distinguished guests and friends, I want you to know that my thoughts are with you on this happy and historic occasion. Port Elgin has had a special place in my heart since my youngest years, especially Saturday afternoon treats at the ice cream parlor, and of course the fall fair. I was so proud to attend the new regional memorial school and be, for the rest of my life, an RMS grad. More recently, it was a privilege and an enormous satisfaction to offer medical care and support to families in Port Elgin and neighboring communities and at Westford. I enjoy being with you and thank you for your patience when sometimes the waiting was long due to my many commitments. Celebrate well the important history of Port Elgin and cherish the memory of all the truly precious and outstanding people who proudly call Port Elgin home. God bless each of you, and may your village grow and prosper in the years ahead. Happy 100th anniversary." And that's from the Honorable Marilyn Trenum Consul, OC, OMB, MD. Marilyn Trenum, Dr. Marilyn, and several other titles. I don't remember them all. As those memories that a lot of us carry with us. One of the people that Dr. Marilyn may have encountered was been Helen Walton, who was the teacher here in some of the one-room schools and later at the schools here at Port Elgin. Helen liked to write a lot of the school, but Helen would write things down. And she wrote a couple of stories and poems and accounts of her childhood in Port Elgin and growing up here. So I'd like you to watch now, Remembering the Past by the late Helen Walton.
As I recall my childhood in Port Elgin, I think of the many changes that have taken place and of the thriving industries of the town that are no more. I recollect the first hot woman mill on Chivalry Road. They spun yarn and made blankets and woolen dress material. This mill was destroyed by fire. I would say sometime in the early 20s. Mr. F.H. Cobb then set up his mill in a part of Hickman's grist mill, which was located on the other side of the river. In my earlier days, the grist mill was a thriving business making flour from the wheat brought in by the farmers of the outlying districts. Another industry of times past was Rayworth Woodworking, which was on the east side of the river, owned and operated by Courtney Rayworth and Sons. McGee Industries, Shook Mill, cannery, label shop, and other production activities provided employment for many people, both men and women. Mephisto brand canned lobster was known worldwide, and peas, clams, herring,
In the spring, a favorite pastime was standing on the iron bridge when the river, as far as one could see either way, was full of logs being floated down from the upper reaches. On the lower side of the bridge, there was a wooden platform which spanned the width of the river. And beyond the platform was a log boom which ran down the center of the river. Here the logs were tallied, generally by Hudson Campbell, who stood there while men with pike poles and peaveys guided the logs to either side of the boom. Those on the right going to Hickman's mill, and the ones on the left to Hayward's. Some of the more daring of the boys in town were often tempted to try their skill at running over the logs from one side of the river to the other. A very dangerous pastime. But some of the more agile would accomplish this feat. A shop that used to interest me was James Johnson's Harness Shop, which was on Shimogui Road. There was also a tannery in that vicinity, and a large scale where farmers could weigh their loads of hay. Farther along in the street was Grant Hall, the lower half having been used as a warehouse, the upper floor for dances, concerts, and the like. Previous to that, we had Hickman's Hall, which was the entertainment center for such shows as Chautauqua, which came to town regularly. Fort Elgin was well supplied with stores, confectionery stores and ice cream parlors, bookstores, general stores and grocery stores, tailors and dressmakers and milliners, and the list goes on. Our local druggist was P.F. Inman, with quarters in the Hickman block. Also in the Hickman block, you could find Hickman's store and the telephone office, where the hello girls kept tabs on the activities of the area, and probably, on occasion, listened in on the party line. The switchboard was tended both day and night, and was to me a fascinating mechanism. An important event in the life of the town was the arrival of the daily train. Twice a day during the summer, once a day for the rest of the year. Father Albert Koch met each train to pick up passengers in his carriage. Often these were drummers or commercial travelers who would stay at the Strathcona Hotel and display their wares to prospective customers at the sample rooms behind the hotel. Most of the trains were met, too, by Joe Harper, who picked up express and freight for delivery uptown. I can remember when the railroad bridge was built. The superintendent in charge, a rather grumpy Mr. Brown, lived at my mother's boarding house while the bridge was under construction. This was a drawbridge, the center section of which would swing around to make an opening for tall ships to enter the river. It was a big event when the bridge was open to allow McGee's yacht to come into anchor. I can remember when I was about 4 years old being walked across the finished bridge by my father. It was scary to look down between the tides and see the water. A special event in the town each year was the fall exhibition, at which we enjoyed a very good show of horse racing, prize animals, cooking, pickles and preserves, needlework, quilts, mats, all manner of homemade goods. Exhibition was really a highlight. We were even given a half holiday from school. It was a big effort, especially when you recall that most of the goods displayed had to be conveyed by horse and buggy. The covered rink was a beehive of activity whenever the weather was cold enough to make ice. We were dismissed from school 1/2 hour early on Friday afternoon, whenever ice was available for us to skate on. It was sheer bliss for me on the few rare occasions when I could go to the rink for an evening of skating to the music of the local band. I also recollect with pleasure many, many hours of skating on the Gaspereau River. We always had an evening of skating around a bonfire fueled by Christmas trees. So exhilarating. It takes such a very few short years for a lifetime to pass us by, with all the changes thus entailed. Like a movie, it runs by the eye. As I recall this little old town, my childhood home so dear, I close my eyes and see it then, as it was in yesteryear.
What lovely memories. Yeah, I was scared walking across that railroad bridge. I can remember that, especially when you were 4 years old. Thanks to Sharon Allen, who voiced that for us, and you'll hear more from Sharon later on. Well, we're celebrating a little bit the history in the past, but also we can celebrate a little bit of the future. Maisie Carter is here. As one of the Carter sisters, Maisie has been playing and entertaining us since she first picked up a fiddle. She's here with Beth Weatherby for us this afternoon. So you can do a little toe tapping and a little bit of hand clapping, whatever works best for you. Please welcome Maisie. been very lucky. There's a lot of people who worked hard to put some of this celebration together, and a lot of people who have contributed their time and their talents. And a couple of special presentations I'd like to do now. I'd like to invite Arlene Steves and Tracy Henderson from Advanced Savings Credit Union, and after that, Greg Dickey from Atlantic Windows.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is not the norm for us. Kathy Harlan would normally be here speaking for us, and so we're going to try to fill in as best as we can. Thank you for having us. Honorable Brenda Murphy, all honorable political guests, Your Worship, Mr. Mayor, business owners, families, and friends of Port Elgin. As he had stated, my name is Tracy, and I am joined today by my colleague, Arlene Steves. Together, we bring greetings from Advanced Savings Credit Union. When Jan Legier approached Advanced Savings about being a sponsor for this wonderful milestone, we said yes immediately. Supporting the people, businesses, and future of the communities in which we serve, we will always be a part of our cooperative mandate. Wow, 100 years of incorporation. Making Port Elgin the oldest incorporated village in New Brunswick is an amazing accomplishment. But with a history that goes back more than 400 years, this village was an integral part of the economy and future of New Brunswick much longer than the incorporation. With your water access and position in the Maritimes, the port of call for settlers, traders, businesses, and families was Port Elgin. That same heart that gave those early settlers the courage to dream big lives on in the people of Port Elgin today. And this celebration is a perfect example. Well done. So as you gather throughout the year to share your history, your village, and your warmth and kindness with all who visit, take pride in knowing that Port Elgin is not just the oldest village in New Brunswick, but also is the village with the biggest heart. And so, it gives us great pleasure to be able to present this check for $5,000. All of your wonderful plans for this year, Port Elgin's centennial year. Congratulations to you all. Thank you, everyone.
So congratulations to the community leaders and the community for putting on a great event. So I'll have a round of applause. I was going to stump most of you with some trivia, but we got to share just wonderful memories of Port Elgin and the history. And incredible to see the entrepreneurial spirit that's been here for so long. Tanneries, canneries, wood mills, factories, on and on. And we're proud of Atlantic Windows to continue that entrepreneurial spirit. Very, very important for us to be here. And this has been a community that's been so good to us for so long. And it's really because of the great work ethic and this community, this sense of togetherness. It's so important, right? And it trickles right into the factory across the street. And it's humble beginnings. Port Elgin had a humble beginning, and so did Atlantic Windows. It all started with a community center and a man with an idea. Look where it is today. We're shipping all over the world, from Port Elgin in rural New Brunswick. Right? Right?
5,000
there's some great things to come. The future looks bright. So let's carry on. And I just wanted to congratulate Port Elgin and thank you for letting Atlantic Windows be a part of your community. And it's been good to us, so we wanted to give back a little bit too. So yeah, $15,000.
Thank you very much. And I'm a trivia addict, you know, Greg. I picked up one question this afternoon. Take home. There'll be an extra bag of cookies if you know the answer. You saw the presentation? There's one person in this room who was in one of the photographs in that presentation. Do you know who it is? That's a lot of cookies. I know, Terry. A lot of us here grew up in this community. And it's the kind of thing that no matter what language you speak, or whether you're male or female, left-handed or right-handed, it just sort of grabs you and becomes part of the roots that you grow with. Sharon Allen grew up in Baybird and attended school here at Port Elgin and in Sackville before moving away and following a career in banking. She moved back to the area in 1986 and soon became an active volunteer in various organizations, founding member of the Monroe Heritage Center, our local museum, and she continues to be fascinated by the amazing history of Port Elgin and the surrounding areas. Most recently, Sharon has been a volunteer member of this organizing committee for the event this afternoon and all the events this year. And she's very honored here to be speaking at today's opening ceremony as our keynote address speaker. Sharon.
Distinguished guests, current and former mayors and councilors, our sponsors, fellow committee members and volunteers, ladies and gentlemen, I know you may be surprised, shocked even, to learn that I helped serve tea at the semi-centennial 50 years ago. When I was serving tea 50 years ago, I could never have imagined that I would be here 50 years later speaking to all of you today. The semi-centennial was quite an event. The gym at the old Regional Memorial School was filled, packed with people. Colin Leonard, a teacher with an interest in local history, spoke that evening. He gave a very moving speech, and when he emphasized that the trains didn't just go through Port Elgin back in the day, they stopped here, everyone in that room laughed and cheered. Many of the people attending that 50-year celebration remembered when Port Elgin was the commercial center for the area, and an important place in its own right. Trains did indeed stop here. They stopped to deliver loads of tin for McGee's Can Shop, loads of raw wool for Copp's Woolen Mill, all sorts of other goods and necessities. They also stopped to pick up finished products from the factories of Port Elgin for deliveries across Canada and beyond. The people at that celebration who remember those trains stopping are mostly gone now, taking their memories with them. Looking back 100 years, we know Port Elgin was a bustling place with stores, hotels, restaurants, factories, doctors and dentists, so much more. My husband says that his father often commented that when he was a young fella and they came to town, you had to be careful crossing the street in Port Elgin. There was so much traffic you could get run over. For years, Port Elgin served as the center for the surrounding areas. And going to town was a highlight. That remained true for a very long time, even when I was a young girl. Port Elgin was always busy. Parked cars lined the streets and people greeted each other as they went about town, often stopping to catch up on the latest news and or gossip. Some of my earliest memories are going into Louis Dovine's store with my grandfather and looking with awe and envy at the fishing poles, the rods and the reels. I loved going fishing with my grandfather. After we were done there, we might head over to the Bank of Nova Scotia. Do you remember the tables where you could do your paperwork? And the big wooden columns? Have you ever watched an old Western and seen the bank? That's what the Bank of Nova Scotia in Port Elgin always reminded me of. After the bank, our next stop might be at one of the 3 grocery stores in town. Kohl's, McKinley's, or Freddie Wood's. And from there, we might head to the Five and Dime, Kohl's Hardware, or Smith's store for anything else that was needed. When I was a little older, I remember going to the movies at the Mayfair Theater. Mr. and Mrs. Mitchell would take admission and work the concession stand. 50 cents got us into the movie, provided pop and popcorn, maybe a chocolate bar, and we had a nickel left over to call home for a ride at the payphone across the street. Some of you may remember the sign in Kohl's Hardware. If we don't have it, you don't need it. Do you also remember having to turn sideways to get up and down the aisles? Some of you do, obviously. Because they had stuff you didn't even know you needed, and a lot of it. They also had a lot of unique items that couldn't be found elsewhere. Getting ready for a Halloween party many, many years ago, I needed a pair of long white dress gloves to go with my Southern Belle costume. I searched all over Moncton. I went to Amherst. There was no place that had the long white dress gloves. I headed to Kohl's Hardware. I asked Mrs. Cole, would you happen to have some long white dress gloves? I'd even take shorter ones. Mrs. Cole disappeared for 10 or 15 minutes. Sure enough, she arrived back with a pair of long white dress gloves, only at Kohl's in Port Elgin. Some of you may also remember a summer fair back in 1976. I helped organize that fair, along with a very close friend of mine, whom I'm looking for, and I don't see. Oh, there she is, Jo Marie LeBlanc, who I will not hesitate to point out also helped serve tea at that centennial 50 years ago. Yeah, we're good friends. What stands out the very most for me about that fair was the horse racing. I maintain to this day, there were people who got out of their sick beds to go and watch those horse races. Someone even brought out a horse that had actually raced at the track back in Port Elgin's heyday. It was an amazing experience to share in the exuberance of the crowd that day. Their enjoyment was a reflection of what had been in days gone by. During my youth, even though Port Elgin was still the center for the surrounding areas, it was but a shadow of the thriving village it had once been. Today, it is but a shadow of the place it was in my youth. We could bemoan the fact that Port Elgin doesn't have all the industry it used to have, or all the stores and activities. Take a moment and let's look at what Port Elgin of today offers us. Mr. Dickey from Atlantic Windows. They were established here in 1983. They currently employ 200 people, and as he said, their products ship worldwide. I was told that Atlantic Windows considers Port Elgin their home. They are a very staunch supporter of Port Elgin and the surrounding communities. We're very grateful. The nonprofit 30-bed Western Nursing Home, along with Countryside Residence Special Care Home and the McGee Seniors Complex, provide exceptional services to meet the needs of that sector of our population. Nursing Homes Without Walls, a program designed to keep seniors in their homes longer, actually started here in Port Elgin and has been so successful. It's now being rolled out in other communities in New Brunswick. Port Elgin Regional School has adopted a curriculum of experiential learning with an outdoor classroom, a year-round greenhouse, a food forest, a full kitchen where students are learning how to prepare what they're growing in that greenhouse. And the students are harvesting items from the greenhouse, selling it. They're also making things like red pepper jelly and selling that, learning about entrepreneurship. It bodes so well for our future that these children are being trained, are being taught in that manner. Think of the skills that they will take into the world with them. Port Elgin and Region Health Center provides important medical care for area residents. And we have the Port Elgin Public Library located at the Port Elgin Regional School. That provides service to students, village residents, and all my fellow bookworms from the surrounding areas. We also have a public outdoor skating rink on the school ground. Let's not forget PEDVAC, the Port Elgin District Volunteer Action Committee, is an award-winning nonprofit foundation which operates a food bank, a community boutique, school lunch program, youth at risk programs, and so much more. PEDVAC also operates a social enterprise called Wool to Wishes. This enterprise uses recycled wool sweaters to make cozy, unique, one-of-a-kind mittens which are sold in several locations in New Brunswick and Nova Scotia, helping to fund their many programs. Port Elgin Rotary Club is very active and a leader in getting the newest members of our community signed up with Dolly Parton's Imagination Library. We have Westmoreland Lodge Masons meet monthly and provide support to many local initiatives. Botsford Westmoreland Agriculture Society, one of the oldest agricultural societies in New Brunswick. They were incorporated around 1850. And imagine, they're still going. They conduct an exhibition each August, and they hold a fox show, a live fox show in November of every year. And that live fox show is, well, it's the only one in Canada. It's also the only one in North America. Actually, it's the only live fox show that happens in the world now. And that happens right here in Port Elgin every November. Look at this new fire station. This is a testament to the tenacity and determination of Port Elgin's firefighters, their volunteer firefighters, and their community. They worked 17 years to make this building a reality. And there are so many businesses. Excavation, construction, car repair, bottle exchange, pharmacy, convenience store, coffee shop, hairdressers, a martial arts school. And I'm sure I'm missing some. And we have the river, the Gaspereau, named for the fish that were so plentiful. When they came in to spawn, they actually caused the water level in the river to rise. And of course, the harbor. In years past, the harbor on the river berthed ships from all over the world and sent ships built in Port Elgin out to sail the Atlantic. This wonderful resource is right on our doorstep, offering many recreational and potential business opportunities. While Port Elgin is not the bustling place it was years ago, with all those retail stores, there really is more here than meets the eye. The spirit that built Port Elgin is alive and well. We still carry the same values as our parents and grandparents. Buildings and businesses are important, but it's people that form the heart of any community. In this regard, Port Elgin is truly blessed. When we needed to raise $50,000 to get our library moved, there was a volunteer committee. Less than a year and a half later, it was done. When a young girl needed life-altering surgery that could only be had in the United States, a GoFundMe page was started. The people of Port Elgin and their friends and neighbors from the surrounding communities raised $164,000 in less than 4 weeks. Today, that little girl is doing amazingly well. Her life may be immeasurably better with the help of her community. Many of you will remember the flood that happened in January of 2010. A storm surge caused a great deal of damage in the village. You can imagine my surprise when I heard about it, since I was visiting my daughter in Australia at the time. We were watching the news broadcast, and all of a sudden, here are pictures of Port Elgin, and the announcer talking about a flood in Port Elgin on the Australian news. But Port Elgin had never experienced such a natural disaster. And people responded quickly to help each other. There were people who had to be rescued by climbing into tractor buckets. One person whose home was severely damaged told me they had over 40 people come to help them. Everything from bringing in fill and shoring up basement wall to providing meals. When emergency funding was later made available, the people who had helped refused to accept any money. The sense of community, everyone coming together to help each other, that doesn't exist in every community. We're so lucky that it does here in Port Elgin. So today, we've come together to celebrate 100 years of New Brunswick's oldest incorporated village. With the upcoming changes prompted by local governance reform, it appears Port Elgin will be the only village in New Brunswick to ever reach this milestone. Now, this doesn't mean that Port Elgin will cease to exist. To the contrary, it opens up a whole new world of exciting possibilities. As we move forward, let's think big. Let's explore those possibilities. Let's envision the community we want in the future. Let's think big and continue to build a community that will honor our rich history and heritage, and one that will prosper and grow for generations to come.
Well, thank you very much, Sharon. It's enough to make this old heart cry. 100 years ago, Port Elgin, as you just heard, was a remarkably busy place. And on January the 24th, 1922, to help run the place and organize things better, people in this village decided to become incorporated. And as you just heard, and have heard more than once this afternoon, it became the first village in the history of this province to do so. We were hoping to commemorate that event back in January on the 24th, but we delayed it successfully to this afternoon. And to commemorate this event, I'd like to invite back Mayor Stokes, and along with him, longtime resident and community volunteer Ivor Raywood, to come forward. Okay. And this is the countdown to our celebration. 3, 2, 1. Voila! We want to take a lot of pictures after this. We're finished here, so don't be surprised if you get asked to join some folks here around the stage, asked by the photographer. We have a lunch in the other room. You can pick up a coffee and some treats if you'd like, and come on back here and a chance to socialize. Haven't had a lot of those chances lately. Chance to chat with folks. And on your way out, as you're leaving later this afternoon, there's a wee bag of cookies for everybody. The cookies are from an old recipe. I'm reading from the back. It says, Frona Davis was making these cookies the day her husband Arthur was leaving to go off to war in April of 1941. And they're at the door as you're leaving. Made and assembled by students at the Port Elgin Regional School. We're here in this marvelous building this afternoon at the invitation of the fire chief and the members of the fire department. Port Elgin has had a fire department for most, if not all, of the 100 years of our corporation, and today's fire chief, Steele Aylward, and many volunteers continue to serve this village and the rural communities that surround it. Please welcome Steve Aylward.
Thank you very much, John. Your Honor, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the Port Elgin Volunteer Fire Department, I want to thank everyone for coming today to help with the opening ceremonies of Port Elgin's centennial celebrations. We're very proud to host the celebration in this hall. It was built by the hard work and determination of many of its citizens and local businesses, and we certainly appreciate everyone here today. It's a testament to the determination of the past 100 years of commitment to this community. and we certainly look forward to serving you for the next century as well. On behalf of the village, I would like to thank the Centennial Committee for the wonderful job that they have put together here and the hard work that they have done over the past week to put this all together. And we certainly look forward to the presentations and the events that will be coming in the new year. So, congratulations. Thank you. So we welcome everyone to join us for a light lunch in the classroom, and yes, there will be cake. And have a look around. Our members would be happy to answer any questions about the facilities here, and if you ask them nicely, they might even give you a quick tour. Thank you very much for helping us celebrate 100 years.
Thank you, Steve. Thank you very much. And I'd like to tell you that we will be taking some pictures afterwards. If I could get the current council members and our government representatives to stay here, we'll start with you guys first. But that is our celebration for this afternoon. I please ask you to rise for God Save the Queen and remain standing for the departure of Lieutenant Governor Andrew Hardy. God save the Queen. The cream cheese sandwiches are on us.